This is the Real Health Podcast brought to you by Riordan Clinic. Our mission is to bring you the latest information and top experts in functional and integrative medicine to help you make informed decisions on your path to real health.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Real Health Podcast from Riordan Clinic, and I'm Dr. Ron Hunninghake, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer here. And not too long ago, I had Jason, who is the CEO of Hyatt Life Sciences, on, and we were talking about how Afaya Plus made such a huge difference in a cancer patient's life. And so today we have as our guest Georgina, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her diabetes story. So welcome, Georgina, and welcome back, Jason.
Thank you, Dr. Ron.
Yeah, so you were telling me that your diabetes began 20 years ago.
Over 20, actually.
Over 20. Mm-hmm. And it was a type 2 diabetes, and you were on medication.
Metformin did very well, no problem.
Helped you control it, but then what was it, about a year ago or so?
No, it was over a year ago. One day it didn't work for me, and I started gaining weight, and my sugar went off the charts, and my doctor just said, "What are you doing? What has happened? And I said, I don't know. He said the metformin was not working for me anymore, and I needed to do something else." So
it's not an unusual story. You know, we're finding that a large number of people are dealing with type 2 diabetes, and it's part of something that's being called the metabolic syndrome. The metabolism of the body is not able to process sugar anymore, and the blood sugars are going up. Mm-hmm. And it seems like over time, they just get higher and higher, and pretty soon the metformin type meds are just not working as well. So what happened when that occurred?
I had an incident at Walmart, and they were very gentle with me. And I said, my meter is not working, and I've come to you to figure this out. It was a brand new meter. And she says, "Well, let me look at it." And she did. And guess what? They came up with the same high numbers. It was 484.
Your blood sugar was 484.
And I said, "Well, that can't be right." And she says, "No, it's working." And that's when she turned to my pharmacist, and she looked at him. He came around and he says, "Mrs. Malone, let me get you a chair. Nicole, bring Mrs. Malone a water and have her sit here, and we're just going to make for sure you're all right." And he used that tone on me. He handled me very well. I knew something was going on. And he called my doctor, and my doctor, they wanted to call an ambulance. And my doctor said, "No, just have her come over to the office," which was quite a ways away. And I want to see her immediately. I'll take her right in. But getting from my house to there, I got honked at 3 times. And I'm a good driver, but not that day.
Not that day.
And I knew something was wrong. My husband said, "Come to the house immediately, and I will, or pull over on the road. I'll come and get you." Which we hooked up, and he took me straight over to the doctor, and they took blood, and they did that. And that was the first day. I was bawling like a baby. I was so upset. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel good.
Right.
I didn't feel good, and had a terrible headache. Anyway, I started off with 6 units of insulin, which just devastated me. Just the fact that I was there, because I knew it was going to change my life.
So to put this in doctor terms, you were a type 2 diabetic, yes, and it was responding to the metformin. Mm-hmm. But after so many years, it had progressed. And didn't you tell me you had started to gain some weight?
I gained weight. My sugar was up. I'm a real good cook. So I like to cook and I like to bake. And we also, my husband and I, still working, we own a mobile coffee business, and we do very well at it. And I'm very good at it. And I like my coffee. I like cafe con leches, Cuban coffee. The darker, the better.
Yeah.
And I just really but I knew something was wrong.
So you were shifting from a type 2 diabetes into a type 1, which is sometimes called insulin-dependent diabetes.
And I didn't even like that word dependent, because I'd already been dependent on metformin. And now here I am with this insulin, and me and needles and, sticking myself. But I got, that's what you got. And I did that. But I have no gallbladder on the right side, and I have trouble with my bladder. So this side of my stomach and everything does not like the insulin. So I found some sweet spots, so to speak, and that's where I've been doing it. It's just my regimen. I don't have any choice.
Did the dose of insulin keep going up?
Oh yes, I went from 6 to 70. That seemed to be the only thing they could do is give me more. And in the meantime, had heard about, we have a huge USF clinic and studies there. It's huge in Tampa, Florida, where I moved to. I'm born and raised right here in Wichita, but I lived in Tampa, Florida. And I had to make myself do what I had to do. And what I found out is that regimen was my ticket. Dr. Mull made me write down everything. And I always just flew by it, just whatever, I just did things, but this was so regimented what I had to do, because I found out I had to have direction, and I had to keep ledger of what I was doing. And then I had to send these ledgers to Dr. Mull, and he would analyze them. And then he would, and he kept increasing my let me tell you this. When I came home, I don't fly. I'm a panicky flyer, and I always feel like we're all going to die, So I don't fly very often but in July of last year, I felt God telling me that I needed to go home to see my sister. And we didn't have any special occasion. I just said, I told my husband to make me an appointment, and he was very surprised that I was going to willingly fly. And I went back to see my sister, but I didn't do well on the flight with my eating, and I was so nervous listening for the engines still be on. And,
right.
I'm just real, But when I got off the plane, I was very hungry, and I knew I needed something. I told my sister, I said, we went to fast food. I never do fast food. As a diabetic, that's not something you can eat real well. And we went in there and got something. I went home. We sat out on the porch. She fixed me a great cup of coffee. And by the time I ate that and the coffee, I said to her, I don't feel very well.
Yeah.
I knew something was going on, and I went in. I said, I think I'm going to take my blood. And so I did. My machine started an alarm. It was blaring, and it told me, critical. You need to go hospital. It was talking to me.
You thought the machine was broke, but actually your metabolism was broke.
It was, and it came up, and it finally did read it. It was 575. I was just, my eyes were bugging out, and I was like, I said to my sister, I think you better take me to the emergency, and let's check this out. And when you have these incidents, it's like a fuzz, a cloud, you're funky.
Now, in medical terms, we call it ketoacidosis, and it is a potentially death-causing situation.
Well, I knew it wasn't going to be good, and we went to a hospital, and they got me calmed down, and they got my sugar down, and they checked everything about it that was going on, but they let me go. I mean, there was no miracle cure for what I had. I had to just eat what I was supposed to.
And you had to do progressively higher amounts of insulin. What was the highest amount that you got up to?
I got up to 70.
70 units, which is a large amount of insulin. Were you still running some fairly high numbers? So the insulin really wasn't doing the job.
A1C was 10.3.
Wow. And normally we'd like to see it around 5 or 6, So that's.
I was bad. I was in bad shape. I really was, and I had enough sense to know it was. Yeah. So I said, I came home, and we were getting ready for a friend, Gail, my friend, known for many years, to come over and eat dinner. We had fixed a fabulous dinner, and I made a peach pie. Man, it was so good. But as
now we know why your blood sugar's been running high.
I don't eat. I had a little bit.
Just a small slice.
Always have, well,
Yeah. Peach pie, I don't think it was a small slice.
Homemade peach pie.
Right.
It was delicious. Great. And, but I said I wasn't eating, and I knew Gail was there, and she was talking, and she was sort of animated, like she was excited about something. I finally looked up at her at the table, and I said, what are you going on about? And she said, I met a man. And she was really smug about it. And I said, well, tell me about this. What have you done now, Gail? I met a man. And I said, well, and she said, she was listening to me I started, she said, tell me what's going on. I said, tell me about this man. He said, well, he's a doctor, and he's from Palestine, and they have, they're here, they're in Hutchinson. And she was texting under the table and telling them, Dr. Mole and Dr. Said, about or is it Zaid? Zaid. And about, I have a friend who's come from Florida, and she is in trouble, and she needs your help.
And just may I say that, when you get your insulin up that high, you're running out of options at that point. Yeah. And if it does not come under control, all kinds of bad things could have happened, like loss of eyesight, renal failure, all kinds of really serious things. So this is very providential that you ran into someone. And what did he have?
What do you mean, what did he have?
What did he give you?
Well, they said, he said on the text, do you think that she would come over to Hutchinson for an appointment on Monday? Nobody wanted to see me. They couldn't do anything for me. And it was like a peace offering. I felt very calm about this. And I felt like I had a direction. So all weekend I had like a day and a half to wait or so. I was very excited. My sister came with me because I needed support, and Gail came, and we met you at the front door. You were there getting ready to leave, and Gail introduced us to you, and then your father and Dr. Bull were right inside, and it wasn't like a normal appointment, it just was very around this table, and it was just talking. And they said, well, we would like to be your doctors. You're out-of-town doctors, but we'd like to be your doctors. We'd like to help you with this. And we think we have something. They talked about their plant pills and how it was working, and that they needed, and they were very excited about the fact that I had diabetes, and that they felt that they might be able to do something for me. Well, nobody could do anything for me, so I really was,
at the end of your rope.
Yes.
Well, and I heard you say plant pills. And so...
I was very basic. That's the right assessment.
Well, but that is herbs and herbal medicine. If this was going on several hundreds of years ago, that's all they would have had to work with, is just herbal medicines, because normally at this stage of diabetes, the higher and higher insulins just stop working. Yeah. And then the complications of diabetes start showing up. And for a lot of people, there's not that much else to do. You could go on a very, very strict diet that would not include peach pie, unfortunately.
Well, one little bite doesn't hurt, but it's the whole, I learned my lesson several times. I'm very hard-headed, but when you're faced with literally death in front of you, I knew that was coming there, and I had felt it. And I felt like the Lord had led me. People don't maybe think that the Lord plays a part in this, but it did for me. Yeah. It was part of my story.
Let's just pause your story. I want to ask Jason, this plant medicine, people don't know about Hyatt Life Sciences. Could you just tell a little bit more? Then we're going to come back and get the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say.
So we developed a product called Afaya Plus back in 2017 and 18, and then it was actually during COVID that we started hearing a lot from our customers. They were using the Afaya Plus product, and they said, it's interesting. We're using the Afaya Plus for different purposes, but we've seen our glucose numbers dropping, and we've seen our need for metformin doses coming down. In fact, several told us they stopped taking their metformin altogether and had no problems. And so that really caught our attention, obviously, because we know that diabetes in general is a problem throughout the country and
throughout the world.
And we also know that climbing, as glucose levels climb, it causes lots of other problems. And so it caused us to look at the ingredients a little closer, try to understand what could potentially be going on there. And so we had done some research prior to that, as a matter of fact, and had found some of the compounds that we had sent. We actually developed some what I would call developmental drugs, because another arm of our business is actually drug discovery and development, and so developed some compounds that we sent off to a research organization down in Phoenix, and they conducted several tests and found that this compound that we had created has at least some impact on these are murine models, so
right.
Mouse testing, and it actually increased the number of beta cells in the mouse pancreas.
Wow.
And so that was really surprising research, obviously, because that's not something that we were expecting whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it was these compounds that ultimately are naturally occurring in what we now think of as the glucose Arum product. This is just, again, what the good Lord has given us in these plants, kind of naturally occurring molecules, but we synthesized them and then sent them off to the research organization. And lo and behold, that's where we ended up with the glucose Arum product.
Well, and metformin itself started out as a plant. Most people don't know that, but it's a French lily or some type of flower that they developed metformin from. So it's not, so it's not unheard of that you would take another plant-based product and see that, oh my gosh, this has effect on blood sugar, especially when at your situation, Georgina, you were at the end of your rope, so to speak.
Yes, I was.
And so I assume you got started on some of this plant-based stuff. Two a day.
Yeah. Within a week, Dr. Mole said, I'm going to put you on 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to 4. And then he said, I feel good about this. I'm going to put you on 5.
Were you checking your blood sugar during that time frame?
3 times a day. And then the final, what was my sugar at 6 o'clock each day. Right. And I kept a journal. And that was me who, I don't generally do that type of thing. And so I had to be more disciplined. And
Good.
I was like a spoiled child,
See, a lot of diabetics are not disciplined and they get really out of control, but you were starting to get some control back of your blood sugar. What was your blood sugar doing?
It was in the 300 to 400s when I started. Mm-hmm. And then Dr. Mole, he said, I'm watching this. And now you're into the 200 to 300s, but high up to the 300s, like 297. I pushed it a little bit. And I did try to work on it. And I felt my eating was, of course, direct result of it. And I really had to modify my eating, which I did not like because I like to cook, and I have these 9 grandchildren who like to come over and we like to cook together. I mean, it was just such a connection. But I began to say no to things, and my husband owned the coffee business, but we were getting ready to sell it and stuff, but I never gave up on the coffee. And they always, at first, were talking about, maybe you need to get rid of drinking coffee. No, I said, you do know what I do. I'm not getting rid of it, but I did go to decaf. I found the most delicious decaf, and I made it. And
this is a typical story for someone who's dealing with severe diabetes, that if they're going to do anything, they have to really start controlling their diet and lifestyle. I
made a little bit of a switch, and I didn't use like artificial sweeteners, but I did everything. I started looking at the packages. Man, you can sure tell a lot about things when you start looking at them. I couldn't eat cereal anymore. Everything I ate, just my sugar, I went completely up.
Right.
I don't eat much bread, which of course I love, But we found other options, keto bread, and most of them tasted like chalk, but I still would eat them. And I didn't put my sister is a jelly maker, and I didn't put her jelly on them because I really couldn't. But guess what? She also makes sugar-free jelly. So what I tried to do is switch gears a little bit, and it wasn't easy. My path, this not even year, has been a road that it was winding. And I wasn't always real good, but I wasn't always real bad either.
Well, and this is the story of type 2 diabetes. When it goes out of control, people realize they have to control their lifestyle.
Yes.
Dietary factors being a major one, exercise being important. I started
walking, and I found out I didn't mind walking so bad, but I would have liked to have had something in the house to walk on rather than going out. But I didn't mind it that much, but I did do it.
Yeah.
Surprised my family that I did it because I'm not much into exercise. I don't believe in sweating and all that. I don't like that. But I did the regimen sort of my way. And I went out there. You know what I found out? I found out while I was walking, I talked to God, and I talked about situations. Because my diabetes caused situations in the family because they didn't stop cooking the stuff.
Yeah. And
my grandkids still wanted the cookies. And I had to really adjust.
Tough.
I had to make them aware that this was my lifestyle now. And that they were going to also have to work with me on it because I needed help.
So, but you were making lifestyle changes, exercise, dietary changes, but you were saying that the blood sugar was still running pretty high.
Yeah, but I got it at 6 of the pills a day.
Oh, so then when you went up on your...
one more, Dr. Mole said, I don't normally do that. I said, well, bring it on. I got no choice. So we did. But I had trouble. I had to take other things. And so each day now my first thing I do is get my coffee fixed. And then I put my pills out and make sure I have all my pills and the 6 of them. And I had to work at, every day I went by them, I would take a pill. And I would do what I had to do at that time to get them all down. And I could check it off, so to speak. I mean, it was very visible that they were still on the table. And so I worked at it.
As you were progressively increasing the dose,
my sugar went down.
So tell me about that. So you were at 300 plus.
Yeah, and I went down to 200 plus, but it was more into the 250s now.
Yeah. And
getting down. And it was not fast. It was slow. But remember, I started out at 10. My A1C 10.3.
Right. Very, extremely high.
Oh my God.
Dangerously high.
Oh yes, and it came down through. Since then, I'm at about 8.7, but that's still high. But believe me, from what it was, I'm able to function, and I'm doing much better. And then it went down, but I met a new doctor because I had my doctors here, and they were keeping watch over me. But then for 7 months, it took me to get into USF endocrinology diabetes, and I got a really good doctor. Lord bless me, guided me to this woman. She doesn't know it, but I know it. And when I went in there, she basically said, "You're a mess." It was a 2-hour. My first meeting with her was 2 hours.
Wow.
She wanted me to do 7 different labs. But when I got back, they were all in doctor script. And I said, well, what is this? What is this? And she said, well, the doctor will know. I said, but no, I want to know what it is. Now I want to know. And she said, these are the ones that she checked off. And she said, this is why I know. And then one day she said, well, she sent me a text through it's called My Chart. And everybody if you have a My Chart with USF, everybody knows what's going on with you.
Right.
Because you've allowed it, you've given them access. Well, she says, I'm re-diagnosing you, or with different classification from a type 1 to a type 2. And I'm like,
So you had gone from a type 2 to a type 1. Type 1 means insulin dependent.
Yeah.
And that had gone almost totally out of control, 500 or so on your blood sugar.
And then,
but now with the 6 pills a day of the Arum, it had come back down into
then I was in before I came, I was in the 200s, and she was very excited, my doctor. But one thing I want to interject with you. I told her about these pills. And she was very interested. And I told her that my doctor was from Palestine. And she kind of bugged out, and she said, well, I'm from Palestine too.
Ah.
And I thought, oh, Lord, what have you done? Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean it. I mean, it's just like, it was a miracle. And she said, tell me more about this.
Just to switch to Jason again, though, so the source of the Arum is from Palestine.
That's correct.
And this is not a new discovery.
Not in Palestine. It's well known in that part of the world, and it's a plant that grows wild, and it's used for a variety of different things. Yeah, and so they pick it, and then there's a root, kind of like almost a potato, and they chop it, and then they put it into a tea.
Yeah,
and they use it for just a whole host of different things. I don't know if diabetes is actually one of them,
right? But
we do know that some of the other ingredients in the Afaya Plus product are, at least have some of the chemicals or the phytochemicals or the botanical nutrients that we think are somewhat active, at least in the studies we did down in Arizona.
Yeah. No, what this was of interest to me, I can kind of show this, maybe people will see it, but there's a book called The Cellular Wellness Solution. It's by Dr. Bill Rawls, who he was a doctor and he had to stop practicing because of his chronic fatigue. And he started looking into herbal remedies. And what he found is that there's a whole new explosion of research in what's called phytonutrients or phytochemicals that are present in these different herbs. And they have multiple functions within the body. So you're not just taking care of one symptom or one abnormal lab test. They actually help the body as a whole to heal and to start functioning better. So I might ask you, were you feeling better as you were taking this?
Yes, I was. But the fatigue was a thing that I'm not a nap person. I became a nap person. I just was so tired. I had to get not a long time, but I had to go to bed. I mean, I just could not function. And I'm not doing that so much anymore. I feel like I am gaining. But my doctor said, I'm so excited. My sugar that day I went in, it was 219 or something. And I was like, oh, yes. And she says, well, this is much better from where you were, but we want you in the 100s.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my Lord, I had not seen 100
for a long time.
No, I mean, that was like so not going to be there.
Are you there yet?
I get there.
You have some 100 readings?
Yeah. Oh, yes, I do. Yes,
how many of the Afaya are you taking now?
I still take 6.
6 a day. 6 a day.
I do what they say mostly.
And you're watching your food intake.
I don't have any other choice anymore.
Yeah, so you have to watch your carbohydrates. Yeah. And are you eating more vegetables, fruits, and things like that?
Well, I have the meat. And Dr. Mismar, she said, we're going to start introduce a little bit more carbs in your, and I know you like to bake. There isn't any reason why you can't bake a little bit more. But when she said that, my head was just like, yes. And I didn't do well. I was baking and carbing and so my sugar was going up again. And I said, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that. I got to go back to behaving myself.
So we're not portraying this plant-based treatment as the end-all and be-all. You still have to make good, better food choices.
There's no quick fix.
No.
There's no quick fix. And there's nothing. This is just something that I feel the Lord led me to it. And a few other things. I really believe that I try to surround myself with things that make me feel positive, whether it be my pearls or whether it be my grandchildren. They give me such positive vibes. And I'm not real good with, I'm a people person, but
Sure.
during this, I kind of backed off people because I wasn't sure of how, and I've not been unsure about people forever. I run a coffee business where all I do is with people. But now I don't go to the grocery store a lot. I don't like confrontation. And I had a terrible time during the disease. What was that?
Pandemic.
The pandemic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got really anxious when I had to wear the mask. So the church asked me to leave one day when I was in church because I had pulled my mask down because I couldn't breathe. And I said, then you need to change your ways because I'm not ever coming back until you. I didn't like my church doing that. I thought they were being so radical about things. I can't breathe and you're wanting to make me go. I says, I'm going, but it's with prejudice and I'm going to hold my prejudice.
Right.
But you know what? I don't have to have my church to pray. I just have to have confidence. And it was the Lord that got, and my friends, very good friends that are Christians. I surrounded myself. I didn't know I had so many Christian friends. And most of them like coffee too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're using a combination of lifestyle, a combination of conventional medicine in terms of controlling your diabetes. But what I kind of hear you saying is your anxiety level went down, your sense of well-being improved.
I have to be really careful with my anxiety because it affected the blood pressure, and they always want to give me blood pressure medicine. But I don't handle blood pressure medicine well.
Yeah.
So you have to know what works for you. And I said, no. I just recently was in the hospital right after the last day of the show, and I was headed home. I had a terrible pain in my side, and I ended up going to the hospital. And my anxiety, because I was anxious, was high, and that made my blood pressure go up. They put me on a heart monitor. I said, I don't have heart problems. Well, we have to be careful. I said, okay, but I said to them, I remember that I'm on insulin because it seems like when I go in the hospital, they don't ever recognize that how much the diabetes is a part of my life.
Right.
And they wouldn't let me take any of my pills or anything. So I was a little bit more anxious because I didn't have my 6 pills sitting there. But you know what? They were so patient with me that my anxiety came down and they found out what was wrong with me. And, now I'm on other things. I have 4 new doctors. And you know what? I didn't push them away. I was like, I have embraced that. And, what are you doing today? I'm going to a new doctor. But you know what? I also expect a certain level with my doctors. I expect them to be good to me, patient with me. Don't you yell at me, because guess what? I will yell back at you. I don't like that. And situations out in the public, one woman said, you should be wearing your mask up higher. And I said, you need to back off because I don't handle this well. I'm barely able to breathe, and I'm in there trying to buy something that I really want to get. Yeah. And I got what I wanted. And you know what she did? She backed off. I just can't do that.
Well, you're not alone, because the estimate is that maybe 70, maybe even 80% of the world is dealing now with insulin-resistant diabetes or pre-diabetes.
My brother died of it.
Yes.
8 years ago.
So, and a lot of what's happened in modern medicine is it shifted from acute care. Now we're dealing with all these chronic diseases. And oftentimes blood sugar problems is one of the root causes.
It's everything.
Dietary factors, but then it sets up the stage for Alzheimer's, for osteoarthritis, degenerative diseases, psychological problems. And the beauty of the phytonutrient approach, which is an adjunctive approach to modern medicine, and doctors aren't trained much in this, but I think Afaya is making a difference in helping people, the medical profession, see that there is a scientific basis to using the holistic benefits of an herb that has very powerful phytonutrients in it. Back to phytonutrients, that these phytonutrients don't just work on one thing. They help the diabetes stay under control, but they help your brain to be calmer or to be more clear. They help your joints to be healthier.
Well, I know when I'm fuzzy or I feel that fog, I know that, and I have a headache, I know immediately my sugar's up, and I need to work on that. Maybe I haven't taken all my medicine, or I did not eat that another piece of pie. I can't do that anymore. You know why? It makes me sick.
Well, you're learning to pay attention to your body and make better choices. And this is all part of something called the metabolic syndrome. And you're not the only one. It's just taking over the planet. And so what's exciting about this particular product and just your story is that it should give people hope that if they open their eyes and take a broader look at what can be done, because most people assume if I just get the right medicines, everything's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. This is ancient medicine. I guess in Palestine, it goes back thousands of years.
At least 1,100 years, as far as we can tell.
Yeah, yeah. And so today, I appreciate you coming on and telling your story to us, but I'm wanting our audience to know that there is hope for a number of the complications of diabetes, as well as better control of the diabetes itself. Yes. And so, what a great story. And I think your faith definitely shows. Got to have faith.
Well, he hasn't let me down. He put me on a few flights that were pretty iffy, but I'm telling you, I just prayed my way through it. And I think that I have a really good relationship with my family. And I had to really work on a lot of things that I have maybe let go a little bit, Yeah. And my family and my faith and my eating, this good cook syndrome.
Right.
Yep.
So, Jason, is there other things that this Arum is enhancing in addition to glucose control? We mentioned that today. Mm-hmm. What other sort of things can people expect from this line?
I think you definitely would see some mental clarity as well. That's one that we have. That there is a link.
The greatest fear that people have now is losing their minds.
Yep, yep. And those are the main, I think, things that we've observed at least and heard from our customers about, for sure. So,
well, thank you both for coming on the Real Health Podcast, and
thank you.
Keep working. We've also got
direction now. I have a sense of what has worked for me, and so. I didn't really have that before. I was just willy-nilly going all over everything. And now I feel like I met a man.
Oh my gosh. These pills really are good.
And I'm telling you, it was magical. I mean, I was just like, I didn't have anybody else wanting to see me.
So your sense of self-confidence and your ability to live and to enjoy life more and to take part in people relationships, because it sounds like you were getting pretty dug in with the anxiety and all that. So that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having the courage to come on and tell your story for us. And
I was a little nervous about it because I didn't I wanted people to really hear what I had to say, but not, not everybody will listen to it and I hear my words, what I'm actually saying. It did work. Well, and it is working for me, but that's just me.
Yeah, when people get that far into their diabetes, the options are running out. So you were able to get to that really dangerous point, but you've been able to bring yourself back with the help of this and your doctors and better lifestyle choices and your family and your faith. So thank you both for being on our program today.
Thank you. Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Real Health Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. You can also find all of the episodes and show notes over at realhealthpodcast.org. Also, be sure to visit riordanclinic.org, where you will find hundreds of videos and articles to help you create your own version of real health.